Say you just purchased a popular social media platform for an extremely reasonable price with the intention of sprucing it up a bit. Right now, there's a lot of room for improvement. People have been complaining that posts they see have nothing to do with them. Your first goal is to increase engagement by providing users with content they want to see. Thankfully, your users are very meticulous about curating their content and will always tell you whether they like or dislike a post. After a while showing users posts at random, you create a scatter plot showing each post's character count on the x-axis and the number of views it received on the y-axis, along with whether a particular user liked or disliked the post. Unsurprisingly, this user tends to enjoy popular posts that have already received a lot of views. Interestingly, though, this user seems to have an affinity for longer posts. With this information in hand, you want to start curating this user's timeline by showing them posts you think they'll like. Clearly, they'll like a long, popular post. What about a post that falls here? It's not immediately clear whether the user would like this post or not. The user has both liked and disliked similar posts. You decide to start simple and determine the status of the post by finding the most similar post, and if the user liked that one, then they must like this one. Looking at the closest post, you determine that the user wouldn't like this post, but you're pretty confident that the user would like this post. Just to make sure that the most similar post wasn't a fluke, you decide to check the 3 most similar posts. Now, the user liked 2 of the 3 most similar posts, so they must like this one. But if the status of the post changed based on looking at 3 points this time instead of 1, what would happen if you looked at 5? What happens if you look at all possible combinations of views and character count? Where would each post go? Zooming back out, we can pick the number of points we want to compare our post to. Let's call this number k, and check each post to see if a user would like it. For k equals 1, we end up with these little islands of blue and a sea of yellow, and vice versa. This seems counterintuitive to what we'd expect. Maybe the user accidentally liked this post, or maybe it was a post from one of their friends. Either way, based on all the posts around it, we shouldn't expect the user to like a post in these island regions. So let's see what happens when we make our rules a little more restrictive by increasing k from 1 to 3. Now this seems more reasonable. We have blue where we should expect blue, and yellow where we would expect yellow. Since increasing k from 1 to 3 works so well, let's try jumping to k equals 17. This may be a little too smooth, but it looks reasonable enough for now. Now, users are happy with most of the posts they see, but there have been complaints about bots flooding the app with scams. Your next goal is to find some way to identify suspicious accounts for review. Historically, this was done by employees, but recent staffing shortages mean you need to find some way to flag these accounts automatically. Rather than checking every post, you decide to collect a small subset of posts for further study. You theorize that most bots will have new accounts that are posting a large amount of suspicious content, say, an unusual number of links. But what is considered a new account, and what is too many links? Before you dive into checking whether these accounts are bots, you want to answer these questions by dividing the users into 3 groups. To do this, you start by randomly assigning each account one of 3 cluster labels. Then you find the center of each of these clusters and reassign the account's label based on which center it is closest to. You keep doing this repeatedly until none of the labels change between iterations, giving you your final groupings. Since we have well-defined groups, we can use these small groups to determine what group any account should fall into. If an account falls in the yellow region, we consider it a new high-activity account. If it falls in the blue region, we consider it an old high-activity account. And if it falls in the pink region, we consider it an old low-activity account. Now, we can expect the actual posts of each account to figure out which ones are and are not bots. As you suspected, most of the new high-activity accounts are bots, with some bots scattered in the other regions as well. Given this, you're better off dedicating resources to inspecting accounts in the yellow region, since an account in this region has an 80% chance of being a bot, compared to 10% in the pink region and 20% in the blue region. While this seems like a reasonable approach, you don't like the fact that the probabilities jump so abruptly between regions. It seems like we're too confident in these harsh boundaries. When a point is near a boundary, we should account for the fact that it's really close to being in a different region. Ideally, we would like our probability to change smoothly as the point we're considering moves around, with the impact of each region decreasing as we move further away from the center. To fix this, you apply a weight to each region that decreases as you move further away from the center. So when a point is near the center of a region, the probability of being a bot will be close to the numbers we calculated before. But as you move further away, we increasingly consider the impact of different regions. Now, as our point traces the same path it traveled last time, we can see our probability changes smoothly along with it. Seems like a great method of finding bots, but you're a little weary of the random initialization of clusters at the very beginning. You'd rather have a method of generating clusters that is deterministic. creating the same clusters every time. You're also unsure if 3 is the right number of clusters to pick. It seems just as reasonable to pick 4, or even just 2. You want to find some new method to generate clusters that accounts for all of these considerations. As with most problems, it's often easier to start with a much smaller dataset. So let's grab 10 of the data points from our original dataset to analyze. To start, we will lay all of our points out into a line, considering each point as its own cluster. Now, you want to start combining the closest clusters together, in this case, combining the closest 2 points into one cluster, taking us from 10 clusters to 9. We can continue this process combining clusters over and over again until we end up with one big cluster containing all of the points. Since we're combining 2 clusters every step, we're always decreasing the number of clusters by 1. Because of this, we can have any number of clusters, from 1 cluster containing all of the data points at once, to 10 clusters, 1 for each data point we have. If we decide we want more clusters, we can just walk our algorithm backwards, removing combinations until we have our desired number of clusters. And the best part is, given a dataset, we will always receive the same clusters, no randomness required. Now that people are enjoying the app and the bot problem has been greatly reduced, it's time to think bigger. It's time to get into politics. A think tank approaches you and asks you to help draw a district map for a congressional district in as neutral a way as possible. Staying true to the American tradition of drawing needlessly complex electoral districts, you want to find some method that can automatically generate clusters with complicated shapes. Unfortunately, every method you have so far creates vaguely round clusters, so you'll need something new. To handle this, you decide to cluster the data points based on the density of points in an area. For a given point in our dataset, we'll draw a neighborhood around the point. We'll say that a point is near our given point if it falls inside of this neighborhood. Now, if a point has at least 2 other points near it, then we call it a core point. Otherwise, we call it a boundary point. Doing this for every point in our dataset, we can find the set of core points. Now, we pick a core point at random and assign it to a cluster. Next, every point near it will be added to that same cluster. When a boundary point is added to the cluster, we do nothing. But when a core point is added, we draw a neighborhood around it and repeat the process, adding all points that are near it to the cluster. Once we've exhausted all points for this cluster, we pick another random, unclustered core point and do this whole process all over again. Doing this until all the points have been clustered, we end up with 3 unusually shaped regions. Smoothing out the boundaries and applying a little artistic liberty, we have our final districts. While the think tank was happy with your foray into politics, the public was less than enthusiastic. Considering the backlash, you decide to take a step back from the political scene for now and focus on your other businesses. Maybe the Martians will be more open to your political ambitions. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more content like this, then be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time.